And we're live. Welcome to another exciting episode of the $1 Million Peddlers. I'm Paper Guy.
I'm John, or Popeye. Popeye John.
Oh, there you go.
Not Popeye, not Papa John's. Popeye
John. You'd be getting a lawsuit if you're Papa John.
Probably.
I want to thank the people in already. Singing Mermaid, Lori, welcome in. And Super Sea Delights, and thank you for being a member. Why don't we start it all off right there, Popeyes? You have your own channel, and I was scrambling around right before we got started to make sure I put the link over there. Okay. So anybody watching this later, don't do it now. Go over to Popeyes and binge watch his shows. And when you're done binge watching his videos, he has a great opportunity for you to see even more videos.
I do. $4.99 for membership. I don't know how many videos I have up for members. 60, maybe 50, 60. I put a new one up every Wednesday, and it's usually a deep dive into something postcard related, usually. Yeah, no, it always is. Or it might be a haul video, but it's usually something like a bolo that I don't share much with. I might go in a little bit deeper, but yeah, and then they cancel. I don't care. $4.99, binge it and cancel.
So what everybody out there should do is $4.99 binge Popeyes, watch all of his videos, and then $6.99 come over to ours with over 100 videos behind the wall. And you can cancel that, and by the time you do that, he'll have more videos up.
Yeah, $11 for probably 180 videos or 160. That's a good value.
That is, my friend. Indeed, that is. And welcome in Nanette and Fossil Forward Finds. Welcome in. I guess I used Mr. Magazine here, putting everybody's name up there. And American Vintage Postcards, welcome in. And CK Postcards. We got all the postcard people here wanting to see if I can stump you or not, Popeyes.
It won't be too difficult, I'm sure. I brought, like I had to go work. But I find that if I'm going to have to write down the questions, because once I start talking and my ADH mind takes me off onto a tangent, I need to make sure I can circle back. Just so I make sure I get the question. So I'm prepared.
Okay, nice.
Take some notes. And
yeah. All right. And welcome in, Stephen. All right. The first one's a nice, easy one for you, Popeyes. You come by my place. I sell you 5,000 postcards. Just boxes of 5,000 postcards, random, no order, no nothing. How do you go about sorting those? Or do you? And I guess walk us through what you do. You got 5,000 postcards just show up at your doorstep.
That sounds like a great day. That's like my dream every day. So 5,000 postcards. Let me do quick math. I can't math. So that's what? I don't know how many boxes. 800 a box. So we'll say 20.
Say 6 boxes, yes.
Yeah, 6 boxes. Okay, we'll just say anyway. I go through them usually pretty quick. Let me just pick up a stack. I pull out handfuls.
Yep.
Always got my finger goo because I have no tack on my fingers anymore. I've worn off the thumbprints. And I just start searching through them. And what I say is it's just based on my knowledge over 26 years. I have that built-in bolo list. Anything that looks weird, I'll pull out stuff that I want to sell singly on eBay.
Okay.
And those are like for my bolo list. If in here there's like a real photo of a street view from 1915, some small little town never heard of, I'm setting that one aside because that could be, could be a couple $100 card. But I don't know everything. So I've let stuff like not slide by. I just didn't know because I don't know everything. So I'm going through the boxes usually pretty quick. My first goal is to pull out, cherry pick the cards that are say 25 up in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, oh, this, I know I've had this card before. I know that's a $50 card. So I'm going through at the same time. I am pulling out damaged cards that are just like, there's no value except for scrap value, the crafters and the junk journalers. So I have a box next to me where I always sort in my upstairs office, and I just dump. I'm also at the same time pulling out my cherry pick cards, but I'm pulling out topics that I know sell well on Whatnot.
Okay.
I may not be selling these cards singly. They're still good value, like
Christmas or something.
Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays. I'll just start piling them in, putting them in a pile. Motels, I throw all the motels. So I have little piles all over my desk. And when I get through that first box, there's my cherry picked ones. I know I'm going to be listing these on eBay. There might be a secondary pile of like cherry picked cards, like maybe, and I might do a little research. And if I research it and it is like a sub $20, a sub $15 card, it's going to go into Whatnot.
Okay.
Some of these ones that I pulled out, it's like, well, yeah, it was a weird card, and it might be worth nothing. It might go into my Whatnot pile, or if it just could be a really great card that I wasn't 100% sure about. I've done some research, and I throw it in my cherry picked. And then, so once I have my very first box done, I'll just make like index cards, and I'll be like motels, and I'll just start putting those stacks over on another table. I'll put my cherry picked cards in a box, and I'll put it amongst the other 50 to 70,000 cards over here that will someday be on eBay. And then I just pick up the next box, and I just start going through the same thing. And I was just doing this week, and what I find is, like, maybe in that second box, I get a great run of, I don't know, like New Orleans cards.
Okay.
They're New Orleans. I don't sell a whole bunch of those singly, so I'll put them all in a lot of like New Orleans. I don't know, like 30 or 40. But then I'm like, well, crap. That first box, there were probably
3 or 4.
Yeah. So I'll go back through.
Okay.
So it's a process.
Now, because I was trying to envision if you had. I come from the sports card world, and they have 10 count boxes or sorting trays is what they're called. Right.
Yeah,
and you literally, by tens, but when I could fly through them. But then I was trying to think, well, how would you do it with them? You do it by states. You got a 50 tray box. That would get a little annoying. Like, Alaska, New Jersey, Connecticut, that would get annoying. And then if the other problem, the positive with sports cards is the numbers are all in the same spot in the same year. Postcards. Right. Oh, wait. Oh, no, I got to look on the back to see what that is. Oh, now this one, I got to look on the front. Oh, this one, I got to look. Oh, I don't know where this one is. So I was trying to figure out, if you sorted United States from foreign when you were going through, or.
Sometimes, yes. I will put, the stack will be a foreign stack. There'll be a foreign real photo stack, or really just a real photo stack that has some USA or like horses or something like that. Maybe not identified, but it could be. But I'll just throw them in a stack. Real photos, people, I'll put those in a stack. But also with that is, if I get a great run of like Louisiana, I'll pull those and set them aside. But the stuff I'm putting for Whatnot, I break that down even further. So I'll be like, oh, here's Arizona. Arizona sells well. Alaska, North Carolina. I'll put all the ones that I'm going to break into future state lots in one huge pile. And I keep, I don't have any here, but I print out on my Rollo big labels, like this, and it'll be sort for Whatnot, and it'll be 1 pound lots for Whatnot. So when I go through, say, this whole stack, it's like, okay, there's nothing in here that I want to break down further.
Right.
It just goes in. There's a whole bunch over there. I can't really swing the camera around, but there's a whole bunch. Whatnot bulk, 1 pound lots, Whatnot, 1 pound lots, Whatnot. And when I do my pounder shows, that's when I just go and grab out of there. There's still value in there.
Yeah.
But it's stuff that I get. Sometimes I just get lazy and I don't want to break it down any further. And so sometimes those lots on Whatnot are going to be really good state view cards. It's just going to be different states or topics in that box.
Okay.
And I just keep going that way until I'm done sorting.
2 nights of paper quite must be ended days. I'm going to hide under my bed. Nice. Thank you. Welcome to Treasure Finders. Thanks for being a member. Gravity Goods. Great to see you. Cameron. We got Steve, MDH. It's not MDP, but close enough. There's Dawn is. Everybody knows Dawn. That was how you figure out doing a lot sale on eBay versus doing single. So do you sell lots on eBay?
No. No. I think the last lot I sold on, since Whatnot has come along, I've not done a lot of lots on eBay. I've gotten rid of like 1,000 Niagara Falls in a lot on eBay.
Now, what'd you do with that $3?
Actually, it was 100 and something. I think I got like 17 cents per card. It was like $170 for 1,000. Yeah. People, I crap all over Niagara Falls, but there are people who will buy them. It's just in the grand scheme of selling postcards, it's not what I want to sell because it would just take forever. It's a lot of time. Time is money. I want to list cards that I know are $20 up. To
the people that are here that don't know the postcard world, but do know the worlds that I deal in, Niagara Falls postcards are to Popeyes as car magazines are to Paperboy. And that's what it comes down to. I don't want to deal with car magazines. They show up and you just get rid of them and you get money out of them, but you dread every minute of dealing with them.
But people will buy them singly. It's just going to take a while.
Right. It's been there for a while, Niagara Falls has.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think I read somewhere or other, because it's so close to us, we go up there from, not since the pandemic we haven't been up, but before then we would go up there fairly regularly. And it's something like a couple of inches a year. It's moving back.
Right.
Yep. So at some point it's going to be in my backyard.
Yeah. So. I'll go up when it's just like a gentle trickle. That's when I'll go up.
Or when it's in my backyard, you can see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next question I had for you over here.
And I'm sorry, real quick. And I am doing that sorting. It takes me maybe a half an hour to 45 minutes to do a box. I want to go as fast as possible. So that's why I tell people when I'm sorting, I'm addressing all those things. Is the condition good? Am I going to look this one up further? Do I know it's keeper? So I'm pretty quick at it. You just got to keep that bolo list fresh in your memory. So that's all.
Right. Well, the other good thing about that though is, and I don't mean any disrespect to you whatsoever, but that means that you're going to miss things.
Oh yeah.
At that speed, you're going to miss things, which means you are going to give value over on Whatnot as well. Which is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That's a very positive thing.
I think CK Postcards just told me of a $90-some postcard she got from me on Whatnot for under $1.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. You're giving value. Well, and I'm sure your answer was the same that mine is when people tell me the same thing. Well, now you got $90 to spend over at my next auction. Come on by.
Tony spent enough.
Do common themes sell? Covered bridges, Times Square, things like that. Do those sell or not really?
Covered bridges, there are some collectors for it. That is a topic that I will pull out.
Okay.
Or whatnot. And it's like a pound of covered bridges, which would be, 120 or so, maybe $20-$30. Okay. So maybe 20 cents.
20 cents a card.
But that being said, there are covered bridges that there's a website out there. I have it saved somewhere. It's like bridgefinder.com or something like that, where where whoever runs the site documents covered bridges. And and a lot have been destroyed over the years, taken down, caught on fire or whatever. So if you find like the right covered bridge, and I've sold covered bridges for well over $100 before.
Oh, wow.
Real photos.
Yeah.
From like the teens, and then the flood of 1930 wiped the bridge away. So it's just you have to research. But for just like a chrome 1950s, 60s covered bridge postcard? Probably not. Maybe a couple bucks, $4 or $5, something like that. For me, there's a lot more that I'd rather list. It'd be easy listing,
Right.
Covered bridge somewhere in Wisconsin, covered bridge somewhere in Indiana, covered bridge. So it would be a quick and easy listing, but I'd just rather put my time into some other place.
Times Square, yeah.
Times Square. I always look for Times Square, the advertising in the background. I always see, I think it's like spearmint gum.
Coca-Cola or
Coca-Cola.
Pepsi.
Yeah, one of those ones.
Chevrolet was big there. They had the big Chevrolet at the top. Yep.
Again, I probably wouldn't list the majority of Times Square postcards because it's almost like Niagara Falls. Everybody who went to New York, NYC bought a Times Square postcard to send away. So there's just a plethora of them. The ones you got to look for, just if it looks different. If you're going through and I just see the same angle, same ad. And if you looked at enough postcards, when that one different one pops up, you're like, oh, well, this looks a little bit different. So I'm going to set that aside. To me, it's still a Times Square postcard, which inherently not a whole bunch of value from what I found. But this one may be, instead of a $5 card, it might be a $15 card because it just looks a little different.
Actually, that raises a question that wasn't on my list, but it raises a little different question. And hopefully, we've got a little bit of time because I think we both are going to go deep into this over here in postcards. I have seen small town or not necessarily even small town. Now they're chromes, but they'll have like the movie theater on there. Is there any value with what the movie is up on the marquee?
There can be. I always just use that to date the card. I'll go to like IMDb and type in the title, and you can date a card that way when it's exactly taken. But usually movie theaters, if there's a movie, if it's a street view and there's a movie theater, I will make sure I get that movie theater as a keyword. And if I have enough room, then maybe I can squeeze in the title. But it can add a little bit of value. I think just a movie theater in and of itself, or the Roxy Theater or whatever, Crown Theater, that can add, because chances are, how many downtown theaters are around anymore?
Right.
Probably not many.
Right. Yeah, as I was wondering, I know Mr. Magazine's a huge Star Wars fan, and I was just, as I was talking, like, can you imagine one that had Star Wars up on the marquee? You would think that would have some value because the Star Wars people would want that.
It could. What was that, 77 or 79?
77, yeah.
77. So it would be more than likely to be a Continental, a bigger size postcard from the 70s. So yeah, you just got to look in the background. That's what I tell people. It's a great street scene, but what's in the background?
Okay. Wow. See, we're going off into things I wasn't even going to be talked to. Now, other than Niagara Falls, so the common things are to be avoided, but I did want to let you know, I had done a search when we were first going to have you on. The highest priced at the time that I did the search, Niagara Falls postcard, was $60 for new suspension bridge.
Yeah, there was one, well, was it from the 40s or was it earlier? Because there was a bridge that fell down, I think, in the 30s.
Okay.
And now I don't know if that was from when you say new.
Yeah, that's what I think. It was 1915 or something like that, maybe, if I remember.
And I think that one fell down in like the 30s, something like that. So yeah, that could have been. I could see that. I've sold the people going over the falls into metal barrels and stuff. I've sold those for $20-$30. But it's just of the falls. That's something interesting, different about the falls. It's just not the water.
Right.
There's something else that makes the water a little bit more interesting.
But it's got Made of the Mist in the background.
Well, there are some Made of the Mist cards that I've seen go for $20-$30.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. There we go.
Because it's a different view. There's hundreds and hundreds of Maids of the Mist, but when I was going through, there was a Maid of the Mist that was just different. It was like a close up of the bow of the boat, not usually the side up against the falls. This was like of the boat itself in a different angle. And I pulled that one aside to take a look at it. And yeah, it was a $20 or $30 card.
Wow. How about old Cuba postcards? Can you sell those, not sell those? What's the rules on those?
What was that?
Oh, probably some noise I made.
Oh, I just did a members video on this. And I got to make sure my mind is correct. You can sell Cuba cards pre-embargo, post-embargo that are made in the United States.
Okay.
If it's made in Cuba pre or post-embargo, it supposedly cannot be sold. People sell them all the time, though. And I mean, I don't know if the bots are good enough to the AI to pull those out. Like the AI is pretty good, probably getting like Confederate flags and stuff like that. Cuba, it probably has to say. In fact, I'm in violation. I know I have some Cuba cards that are made in Havana.
Right.
So that's the thing. Yeah, it has to be made in the United States.
Right. Okay. How about postal cards?
Postal cards, yes. I just kind of did a video on this too, talking about the back of the card and the postal cards. They started in 1870s, 1880s. Postal cards. There's actually, I was just on the site because one of my next videos, I had to go to this site, but there's what is it? The U.S. Postal Stationery Society. There's a book out there. It's a download. It's on I link it on one of my videos. It'll tell you more than you'd ever want to know about postal cards. But the thing with postal cards, it's like the back of the stamp people, the philatelic people, they're in a whole different world because they're looking at these postal cards. And so the first one, I can 1870 something. That first one, there was maybe like 500,000 made, and there's watermarks on them. And there's like the next printing, there's maybe a bigger watermark, and it might be inverted or backwards or upside down. And so you have to hold those up to the light to see how the watermark is situated. There is errors on it, and it just they have a book. You can buy it as a PDF download. It used to be $15. They raised it to $80.
Oh.
So, but even for $80, if you get like a whole boatload of postal cards, it might be worth it. But there are some that it's like there's one known example, and that known example was a $50,000 card. You're never going to find example number 2. Just like that green stamp that everybody got, a $50,000 green stamp on my postcard. No, you don't. There's like 50 of those known to existence. And there's just so many nuances with postal cards. That being said, I look for pre-state, because back in the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, there were still like Indian territories.
Right.
I think the
Dakota territories, Oklahoma was.
Yep. Yeah. So there are postal cards sent from those territories. It'll say like, I don't know, Dakota territories on the cancel. So really in that case, the cancel is worth more because it's sent from a territory. I also look for advertising. So you can have like an 1880s postal card that will have, I don't know, like Joe Bob's dry feed store from small town wherever. And you got the postal card people looking for that. And then you got, the people who collect that town would be looking for that information too. But yeah, postal cards I have a members video on it where I try to like just chip away at the very, tip of the knowledge, but it's like an iceberg. It's just the most of the knowledge is down underwater, and you gotta It's I see Dawn. It's behind a paywall. Dawn, you're not gonna find it. Dawn was looking for video on probably postal cards. That's for my members. So yeah, postal cards. I just because they're old doesn't mean they're valuable, but that's where you got to kind of learn also the discontinued post offices. Is it out in a territory? Was it and also with postal cards, I mean, these people look for different colored paper, but that postal U.S. Postal Stationery Society, they for $80 again, it might be worth it. Or you could go find an older book, because they printed these books. I found like a 1990s, maybe early 2000s version of this book for like $15 on Amazon.
Yeah, and it's not like a lot's going to change in that.
No.
I mean, there might be some new research, but it's enough to get you by.
They found another example. But the thing about the PDF downloads, it's in color, which could help.
Yeah, Don, that was when was that? It was 1960s, I think it was. They were assessing the damage on the falls, and they actually stopped the water flow. I've actually came across like I'm going to call it a souvenir program, for a lack of a better way to put it, from that event. Yep. So they actually it was something like 100,000 people showed up at the falls to see no water.
That's interesting, because how often do you see that? Not
right.
often.
Right.
Yeah, that postcard may be good.
Yep.
The falls frozen, not so good. Maybe without water, maybe.
And so you kind of answered the other question I had, which was advertising cards, the value in them, if they have value or not. So, I've always heard that foreign cards don't sell. What are the exceptions?
Well, I just sold 3 cards from the Philippines earlier, like 2 days ago. One for $80 or $90, another one for like $50, and another one for like $60, something like that. It was $230 on 3 cards from the Philippines. And I've sold cards from the Philippines for $150, $250. Real photos of I think from the 20s, 30s, of some of the tribes. I can't remember the names of the tribes in some of the islands and around there, but some of those have sold very well. So early Philippines, pretty much almost any early Asian countries, anywhere really in like Belgium and France that was decimated in World War I.
Oh, really?
But you have to do some research to find those towns. I've sold ones from, is it Syria or Cyprus? I can't remember, but it was pretty much a coastal town that maybe was bombed during a war or something like that. If you're gonna, there is value in foreign cards. How I would research those to find out is go to delcamp.net. It's another postcard site. And I would just, if you can't translate it with your Google Translate or Google Lens, go to that site and type it in exactly the way it appears on the card, and it'll help you narrow it down to country and city, and then you can, search that to see if there's any value. What I look for is Asian cards, or the same rules apply. If it's like Canada, I'll look for real photo street views, early real photo street views from Canada. There is, I can't remember if it was Santo Domingo, Argentina City. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I know I've sold real photos of the city back in like the teens, a couple $100.
Oh,
so you just got to do some research. I'll do the same thing as if I'm going through when I'm going through the lot, and it's like, oh, this is Hong Kong street view, 1940s or 50s or earlier. I set that aside because they used to be $400 or $500 or more. The thing you also with foreign cards, flip it over, and if it's from pretty much from China to almost anywhere else in in the world, in the teens or earlier, or even in 20s or 30s, and the back of the card is just covered with maybe different postal stamps and cancels, like if the back of the card just looks like a mess of stamps and of postage stamps and cancels, some of those cards can go for thousands.
Oh,
so look at the back.
Right.
From Asia, it's like from China to say like New York in 1907, and a good clear like Shanghai cancel and a whole bunch of other cancels, and maybe it went from Shanghai to Germany, and the person in Germany moved it back to the United States, and there's like forward stuff like that. It could be worth a lot of money. So yeah, Asia, and I'm sure there's others I'm missing, but yeah, just if it looks interesting, and set it aside and research it.
Now, how about, let's go into some other not good things things that I've been told aren't good. How about postcard folders?
I've sold postcard folders for well over $100 before. What I look for is small towns.
Oh, really? I don't think I've ever seen a small town postcard folder. Usually Chicago and
yeah, those are the ones that sell. I sold it was like really small and specific. It was like hemp farming in somewhere in Virginia, and it was like a postcard booklet, postcard folder.
Yeah.
And it sold pretty much within hours for the 150 or 175 I put on it, because no one had ever seen it before. And if you're, the thing I always hated about postcard folders is I can't scan them.
Right.
So, but if you're a member of my channel, you might be able to find out how to do that.
Well, you take them all apart, run them through, and then you put it all back together.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything like that. So again, right there, that would pay for your, instead of you're like, oh, I hate taking pictures of folders. There's a way around that.
Nice.
But yeah, folders. Let me see. I sold from Cuba. Probably shouldn't have been able to sell it, but it was like
before the embargo. You sold it back in '59.
It was a golf course. I think I put two together, and I think it was 150, couple $100 for these folders of a golf course in Cuba. So it's the same kind of rules of apply, that if it looks different, if it looks interesting, if it's a town that you like, where the hell is
Podunk?
BFE Podunk, Pennsylvania? Why did they have a postcard folder? And what will show or tell how you can tell those apart, the ones that usually put out by Kurt Tisch or Kurt Tyke, or however you want to pronounce it. I mean, it's very colorized on the front. That's usually almost like a large letter greetings, and they have all the scenes in it. Podunk, Pennsylvania, Kurt Tisch is not going to put the money into doing a large letter greetings from the small town. It's usually a very plain front that whoever printed it can just put, okay, here's Podunk, Pennsylvania, same front. Here's BFE, West Virginia, same front. They just overprint the name of the town, and that's when you open it up, and there's something different. There are some like Hollywood ones. There's some World's Fair ones. Disney can do okay, but 9.7999% of the time, they're not maybe a quarter to 50 cents. Not saying that people won't pay $10 to $15 for them, but there are some great ones, and there's a lot of ones that I'm happy to get a quarter out of them when I'm selling them, because I don't want to list them, because there's 400 other ones on there for $3, and you can't. They're hard to ship because they're little.
They're not.
They don't really work with eBay standard envelope.
What about, actually, you just raised another, and it's just going to go a little longer than I thought, just because you just raised another thing. You've seen those postcards, as we all have. Generic scene, somebody fishing, and it says on there, having a great time in Dansville, New York. I'm expecting those don't have value, but is that incorrect if you get a real small town?
If you get a real small town. Yeah, I like those. I call them generic scenic greetings from.
Yeah.
And there are ones that it's just mass printed. Like this is someone had to take that picture and they turned it into like usually like a linen or a whiteboarder era card. But I've seen them in chromes too. It's the exact same scene that I've seen in California Beach, but it's in like Iowa. There's a town up the road from me called Thurmont. There's not a big body of water around Thurmont. And I found a picture. It's like greetings from Thurmont, Maryland. It was like a 5-masted schooner, huge boat out in the water. It's like, there's nowhere near Thurmont that thing. So I look for that. That's weird. And I think I got $20 for that card.
Well, it might have rained that day.
Yeah. But yeah, some of those small towns with a very generic scene that's anywhere, they're so small. Maybe that was like one of the few postcards produced for that town.
Right.
I've got 30, 40, $50 for them. The postcard dude, Mike in Greensboro, I interviewed him a couple months. He sold one from, I think it was Gordonsville, Virginia. I think it was either 120 or 220, something like that. And it's kind of like a generic scenic greetings, but Gordonsville's a kind of a small town in Virginia with great barbecue.
We have a question here from the chat for you.
Okay.
Collected fantasy cards, pixies, mushrooms, Angela, fairies, etc. from my own collection. Many are foreign. Do they resell well?
Yeah, the fantasy with the pixies and mushrooms. Yeah, they do sell well. In fact, I just scanned last night to start listing today. Fairy, it's postcards. I think these ones from the UK. Most of those ones are probably from Germany. Foreign. Germany usually is what comes to mind. But yeah, fantasy, and make sure you put fantasy in the title. Pixie, elves, mushrooms, toadstools, stuff like that. Those do sell.
What about, a buddy of mine that was in the postcards used to call them the exaggeration cards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the correct term for them or not, but you'll see. I tried to sell one the other day, and it was somebody with a fish, and they had this gigantic fish on a line that was the size of them, or the corn. You had the corn cobs that were bigger than a tractor kind of deal. Do those sell?
Yes. This is just part of my postcard book library. Every time I go somewhere, I find postcard books. I will pick them up and throw them in my library. Even there used to be a magazine. But yeah, exaggerations, larger than life. Friend of the channel, Chris, the thrift shop hustler, sent this to me. And it talks all about exaggerations. They do sell. Again, it might be that same fish may be in half a dozen towns. But again, if you find one, mostly what you're going to see, it's corn cob, exaggerated corn cob on a wagon. We grow them big here in fill in the blank. It's like usually 1909. I think it's the Martin Company put them out. Those used to be about $15, $20. I think I'm getting about 10 for those. With the exaggeration, you're going to see turnips. You're going to, eggs. Eggs is maybe more on the rare side, but you're always going to see the crickets.
Fish.
You and the corn cobs and tomatoes and the watermelons and you find the ones that are like, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. I sold one it was like a horned toad or a snapping turtle. It was really weird. It was a horned toad or a snapping turtle inside of a bar with a guy standing on the back of the snapping turtle. And it was just weird. So that's a $50 to $100 card. But again, it's exaggerations. Look for the town. There's a place in Delaware called Bowers Beach in Delaware, and they always have, like, it's printed, not a real photo, but it's exaggerated fish, and those are, up to $50 cards.
Now they're kissing cousins, I would say, are the gag postcards. Do those sell?
Gag in what kind of
humor? Like
humor?
The humor, yeah.
I bulk most of those out.
Okay.
Again, it has to be something different, something interesting. The ones that sell pretty well are the nudie ones from the 50s, 60s. They're almost always Bamforth or Saucy Seaside out of the UK, and it's cartoon nudity. They're always at a nudist beach, and there's always some gag, like a short guy with a big nose, and stuff like that. Those are $10 to $15 cards. Some of them can go a little bit higher.
Now, what about and I'm going to call them gag postcards, humor postcards, but the ones that have, they're not really real photo, but they do have the photos on, they're printed, but they do have the picture on it. Like they'll show the old, I had one I sold recently where 4 people were in a car and they had a flat tire and they all have alcohol up like this they're drinking. So it's obviously not anything you'd have nowadays, but it's obviously not drawn. It's obviously they staged it,
right.
They took a picture and then they did that. What's the name for that kind of a card? Is there one?
No.
The ones, they're black and white pictures.
Yeah,
that they put a gag on the bottom.
Just a litho print. I know what you mean. You may want to look. Maybe is that in Prohibition time, or was it earlier?
It was earlier. Yeah, it was earlier, pre-Prohibition. Yeah.
They just like to drink and drive back then.
Yeah. Well, they had a flat tire, to be fair. Mike is asking, can you make $2,000 a week take home on postcards? And then why wouldn't you expand into matchbook covers if you did that?
There are people who do that very easily. I'm not one of them. I have in the past made that much, but you got to put a lot of cards up. You got to be listening all the time. It's for all the postcard seller. It's not just all like, oh wow, all this money coming in. It's you got to probably get at least $2,000 to $2,500 or 2,500 cards up on eBay probably before you can even start seeing daily sales. You'll get the initial, everybody's like, you're the new person there, and all you're putting up new stuff, so your stuff's going to sell. But to keep it up consistent, you just got to keep feeding the postcard monster to get to $2,000 with matchbook covers. And I've sold those before. My problem is sometimes scanning them is a pain in the butt because my scanner doesn't always suck down you got to make sure that the staple's out so you don't scratch your scanner lens. So you got to use a carrier sheet. And it's just sometimes it's a pain in the butt. I have sold them. The longer I've been on eBay, the more, if I can't sell it or if I can't scan it, I don't want to sell it.
Right. We got another question here. I apologize. You get to ask this a lot. Do you have a favorite postcard category and specific ones that you personally collect?
I really don't collect much anymore. Good segue. Matthew Kirsch, the Halloween artist who did my commission cards, who I will be interviewing on October 17th. Ooh. Great interview coming up. I collected his stuff, and then I either sold it or ended up giving it all away as giveaways on Whatnot. At one time, I started collecting the large letter greetings cards. And I would just get, like, if I found it I wouldn't really go out and purchase these specifically and on purpose, but if these came in a lot, I would just pull them aside. And I do the Frederick, Maryland. I won't really go out and buy any, but if I come across Frederick, Maryland, and I just pull them all out because someday I may do a show here and Frederick, Maryland people would like it. And then Popeye, if I come across a Popeye postcard, I will. I have bought some of those, but mostly it's just stuff anymore.
Right.
And I don't. When I go, I don't want a whole bunch of stuff. I want all this gone. I don't want my family having to deal with this stuff. So it's just stuff anymore. So.
How about art cards, like famous paintings, things like that? Any value? Okay, that face tells about all that I needed to know.
But there's always exceptions,
right?
But if it's like, a postcard of the Mona Lisa, probably not. But there are some art cards. There was an expo, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like an expo back in the 30s. And there were postcards produced at that expo that can sell for like hundreds of dollars. But there's a stamp. There's like whoever made the postcard, it'll say on the back from this expo. And someone's out there was collecting them, and it's several $100s for these. But I see Steven, you'll get to it, but Banksy, modern day art cards, sure. This Matthew Kirsch, modern day, but it's a Halloween genre, but it's art.
Right.
But then while we're on art, you can get into hand painted cards too. And this kind of goes back to the postal card, because those postal cards, it was always blank, usually blank on one side. So you would have pretty much budding artists, do a painting on there, like a cachet. And those can be, depending on how good it is, those can go well. So there are hand painted postcards. You'll see a lot from Japan with like a black lacquer or color, and it's an actual painting on a postcard. So if it's handmade, hand art, those can do well. They'll sell much better than a postcard of the Mona Lisa that was sold in the 20s at the gift shop.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's always exceptions to every rule.
Now everyone knows Halloween, and they know about the different color Santa Claus. The different color Santa Claus outfits, Kris Kringle, St. Nicholas, whatever you want to call them. What other, if any, holidays are good? St. Patrick's?
Kind of. You can have artist signed ones. Francis Brundage or Ellen Clapsaddle, those can do well. And is that St. Patty's Day, it may be a $10 to $20 card.
Right.
Groundhog's Day.
Really? No, I've never seen one of those.
Well, because they're very rare.
Yeah.
Labor Day, because there aren't a whole bunch of Labor Day postcards. Arbor Day. So those minor holidays. Yeah. Leap year can do okay, because that's only every other 4 years.
Every 4 years, yeah.
But like for Thanksgiving, they have to have like just a really great scene. And again, it could come down to the artist. It could be a John Winch. Sometimes you'll see across the bottom, John Winch is a publisher, but he used Samuel Schmucker. Right there's to Samuel Schmucker. See this face, recognize and remember that face. If you see something very similar to like that on a Thanksgiving or a Valentine's or St. Patty's Day, that's a Samuel Schmucker. And some of those can bump up the value. Easter dressed animals, dressed bunnies can do fairly well. Yeah, that's just gotta be a nice looking card.
Now I wanted to ask you about this card. Hopefully it shows up here. I've got some postcard auctions coming up on Whatnot. Definitely do check me out. Paper go over on Whatnot. I've got holiday ones coming up, and I saw this card and I thought this was a very, very interesting card. And can you tell me something about why?
Well, yeah, you got Thanksgiving and a Halloween pumpkin.
Right. Why do they have a jack-o'-lantern on a Thanksgiving card?
Yeah, I would list that with like JOL, or you could list it either Halloween or Thanksgiving.
But why? I guess my question is why, because it caught my eyes. Why did they do it? Was it so they could sell it for 2 months instead of one?
That could be. Could be marketing back then, but I've seen that card before, and I would list it as Halloween and Thanksgiving because they're only a month apart or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I was wondering because again, I was trying to figure out why the Thanksgiving card had a jack-o'-lantern on it.
So like Thanksgiving, usually Thanksgiving kind of plain Jane, but this is an artisan Ellen Clapp saddle. So I would pull this out if I found that in the dollar box. I would pull that out. I'm just seeing here's a Ellen Clapp saddle, Christmas, kind of plain, but still it's an artisan Clapp saddle.
Well, I'm going to say this. I got very confused when I first got anywhere near Postcards because I came from the world of sports. And if you had something that was signed, it was signed, right. Literally autographed. And people are like, that's an artist signed postcard. I'm looking at it going, what are you talking about? That's not signed. Right. Yeah, I could see if it said Ellen Clapp saddle on her handwriting. Yeah, it's probably quite valuable. But no, it's not artist signed.
Yeah.
And that is one of those things. Anytime you get into a new genre, you have to leave your preconceptions from your prior genre behind. Because again, signed means something completely different in the sports world than it does, over in your world.
And well, that bleeds over because I'm sure you've seen the yellow Hall of Fame plaque postcard.
Cooperstown,
look for some of those could be signed. I've not run across any, but some of those are signed.
Oh, literally autographed,
autographed.
Yep.
The team cards that, I guess, I don't know if you can do it now, but you used to be able to write off to, I don't know, the ones I see all the time are the Mets. And actually for me, the Orioles over here is, you write to the club, hey, can I have some postcards? And they actually send you signed or autographed cards. They're postcards, but they're autographed.
Yep. Some of those are printed as well. They also did some printed ones also.
Yeah. You have to print. I look at it under a magnifying glass or a loop, but
you got to get your loop. Yep.
Also with autographed, the ones probably people would see a lot is Jack Dempsey because he had a restaurant.
Yep.
If you see two signatures on the back, one of them is real because it's auto penned on all of them. But if you were in that restaurant today and Jack Dempsey was there, he would wet sign right under his the auto pen.
The auto pen one,
the printed one. So you got to keep an eye out for that.
How about Gibson? Lives in Cincinnati, collects Gibson cards since the company is based here. Do you find the company to be valuable?
There are some Gibson, of course, Halloween and Christmas. Some of Gibson's has an arts and crafts look to them, and I will sell those ones. I like arts and crafts style. You got Art Nouveau, Art Deco, arts and crafts. Art Nouveau is the best, but there's some Art Deco ones that can do pretty well. And I like arts and crafts myself. But yeah, Gibson, that's what I look for. But mostly what I find is Gibson, usually some late teens, mostly 20s and 30s. I see them a lot, almost like a generic, they don't have like great Santas, I don't think. They may, but it's usually just kind of like plain Jane. It's what I would bulk out for crafters and people who want to sell them for $2 or $3.
Now, Eric asks a serious question. I told you not to be stupid, you moron. He said, do postcards get graded? I'm sure the sports ones do, but beyond that, do they?
I've seen Titanic ones, and I saw mostly it is baseball and sports, and I think it was Red Baron, Rickenhofer or whatever. I've seen one of his cards graded. For the postcard world, it's not worth it. It's just not. No one's. I don't believe. I understand the value for getting sports cards graded. I personally, I want to touch it. I want to actually touch the card. So to me, the more value is actually being able to physically touch it. But in the postcard world, I wouldn't send your money in and waste it. I've seen some Matthew Kirst cards graded, and it's just not needed. It's not going to add for a regular old, Petoskey It's not gonna matter.
Right.
No.
How about Raphael Tux? Obviously, we know Raphael Tux is good. Generally, are there other publishers out there that are good?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you got Tux, and Tux is great because there's a database. It's Tuck. I think it's tuckdbpostcards.org. It pretty much on every Tux card on the back, it'll say almost everyone. It'll say a series number, so it'll say something like, I don't know, like Santa Claus series number 124, and you can go to tuxdbpostcards.org and type in Santa series and just the number, and it will give you a pretty good price, pretty accurate for it. So Tux is good. But there's also, I mentioned John Winch, but John Winch, their cards are nice. There's one that's called, I just lost the train of thought. There's like EAS. There's always a heart with EAS, and it's usually holiday cards. There's Ernest Nister out of, I think, London. He did a lot of like holidays also. But you're going to have regional ones, publishers. Like for Real Photos, there's one in central Pennsylvania. A photographer published his own postcards, Clyde Laughlin. Some of his cards can do well. There was a photographer, postcard publisher in Virginia, W.E. Burgess. Some of his cards can go for well over $1,000.
Wow.
But it's more regional. Also in Virginia, there's and some of them are put out by the Albert Type Company. You'll see this on the back. It says the Albert Type Company. And there are a lot of hand-colored ones. They're hand-tinted. And there's one down in Virginia. Pretty much if I see a hand-tinted, hand-colored Albert Type, I usually pull that aside because some of those can go fairly well. And a lot of them were put out, or they were published by Albert Type, or made by Albert Type, but maybe published by the town's pharmacy. So there's one down in Virginia, like Lexington. It's the McCrum Pharmacy or McCrum Drugstore. So you got to look for that. And I'm sure there's other regional ones I'm not sure of. In Hawaii, back in the teens, there were a couple. There was like, I think it was the South Seas. It was either Seven Seas or South Seas Curio Company. Some of those are okay, but the Hilo Company, Curio Company in Hilo, I think it's Hilo Curio Company. Some of those are $100 cards, and I think it helps because it was this publisher. So, I don't spend a whole bunch of time on publishers, unless it's like a Real Photo, because you got Laughlin in Pennsylvania. There's another Conklin guy in Pennsylvania. There's Klein, did a lot of more southern states. Jesse Tarbox Bills, a lot of New York area. If you find Jesse Tarbox Bills cards, those are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. She was the first female photojournalist. Some of her cards can go just astronomical. So again, I know there's regional publishers I'm just not aware of. But the way you can find out is if you always do the research on the card. So maybe it is Niagara Falls, and you're researching Niagara. That's not a good example. We'll say Syracuse, New York. You're researching Syracuse, and a whole bunch of cards are coming up. But the most expensive ones, and hundreds and hundreds of dollars ones, they all have something in common, and that might be, McCrum Drugstore, or maybe there's a W.E. Burgess in New York that self-published some cards. So you'll find it in your research. Like, okay, why are these outliers? Why are these cards from this town so much more than all the other ones? And you do a little bit more research, and it's like, oh, maybe it's the publisher. So just got to research some of them.
I came across some Tux the other day for Westminster Abbey, as I remember. where it actually didn't say Tux in the back, it was only on the front.
Yeah.
Why, or any idea at all what was going on with that?
It could have been an older one, because some of there are blank back Tux cards, and there's like, it'll just say Tux, maybe no serial numbers. Sometimes it just might have Tuxes. They have a unique emblem.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just might be that emblem. So when you get on Tux database, you just got to use keywords on the front and just have to kind of search through and find it that way. It could also be, even though it's postcard size, it could be because there's a Tux ephemera database too, and it could be on the ephemera side. I see Flippin' Ohio. Yeah, there's a Clapsaddle book. It was like there's nothing like this, like a mass-produced hardcover for Clapsaddle. There was a lady named Ellen Budd, Budd, and she put out a guide, and it's in a 3-ring binder. And I got to thank Ralph. I'm not sure if Ralph's in here, retired with books. He's on Whatnot. He sent me. I found this book, and I was going to bid on it, and someone bought it, and here it was Ralph because it was on eBay. It's Ellen Budd, Ellen Budd, and she did this guide to Clapsaddle cards, but there's no price guide. It's just and it's all like black and white photos. It'll tell you, at least show you what Clapsaddle books or postcards are out there. However, I met a guy in Allentown in the spring, and he was looking through Clapsaddle cards, and I asked him if we just got to talking, and his wife is putting out, working on an updated book for Clapsaddle, because I asked him, I was like, what do you think about the book? Or there's ones that should be in there, and he's like, we have like 70 or 80 known in their hand samples that aren't in that book.
Wow.
So yeah.
Mike did well with Chinese postcards, were collages made from parts of stamps. Have you sold them?
Yeah, I've sold those. Those are 50 to 20 to 5 to 70. I think they're called Montage. I think that's the if Connie's in here, she can correct me, but I think those are called Montages. But yeah, they cut out the postage stamp to make a scene out of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. And are they handmade, or are they?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sure they cut out and they just glue the little pieces on.
But they weren't mass produced.
I imagine there's a guy who cut out like the green stamp for the pants, and he glued it on and passed it on to the next person.
Oh, so it's somewhat it's hand done, but mass produced. It's kind of a mixture of the two, as opposed to they're not one-offs. They're
but each one's going to be a little bit different. The same thing with like those World War I silk embroidery cards. I don't know if you've ever seen those. Beautiful silk embroidery. It'd be like a butterfly, and the wings of the butterfly are made up of the colors of the flag of the Allies, French, United States, and whatever else. And it'd be like, to my sweetheart back home, to my dear mother, and it's embroidered. And my understanding, it was hand embroidered, but it was kind of also like an assembly line.
What's the oldest postcard you found? There is a limit to that because they weren't around before.
They call like the first postcard, I've seen people say it's back in the 1870s, but there might be foreign ones that are like that, but true postcards, because you're talking semantics. In 1898 to 1902, they're called private mailing cards.
Right.
It's a postcard. It's really what it is. There's an image on the front and a place on the back. So, the oldest one I've seen, and it's from Germany, was into like the early 1890s. And some of those cards are gorgeous. The Germans back in the late 1890s and early 1900s are just some of the best printing I've seen. Chromolithography. just gorgeous. So those are the oldest ones I've seen. I mean, you can get back into the 1870s, and there's like Lippmann postal cards, and people can. It's just
right. It's the same thing with comic books. You start getting into what they call the Victorian age of comic books, and they're not what you would imagine a comic book is. Yet there's all kinds of study that, oh, this is 4 straight pictures of a guy moving, so therefore it meets the definition of an early comic, and it was within this magazine. Because again, it's not like one day somebody woke up and everybody goes, hey, we're going to do postcards. And the same thing with comic books. It's not like one day. There's a whole evolution.
Yeah.
And when you get into the early time, same thing with the postcards and the comic books, it's just, new things to be discovered, because nobody thought they would be worth anything either back then as well.
Yeah.
Plus you're talking 100, 150 years on some of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Just to answer that, I've seen both. Rotographs usually are real photos, but I have seen lithos from rotograph. Just grab yourself, a nice magnifying glass, a loop, and if you see dots or squiggles or just something that really isn't 100% clear, it could be, and more likely than not, a lithoprint.
Any real surprises in auction? You put something up, and then all of a sudden it goes for, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, that happens. I wish it happened more. Because I would like to think that my research is pretty spot on, because I always start my auctions where I think I would want. If I only get one bid, I'm happy.
You'd be happy. You're right.
But yeah, there are occasions that I started at that bid and at the price I want, and it has jumped up. And yeah, I just wish it happened more. I just had one a couple months ago. I bought a card. I think I had it at auction for, I started at $25 and it went for 120 or 150 or something like that. I wasn't expecting that at all.
So I have seen some. Can you give me a quick history or odd size postcards? And by that I mean small. I don't mean obviously. I don't obviously mean the giant postcards. And I've seen the ones as well. Let me before I ask you that, do the odd ones. Like I saw one out there that you were to pull after you sent it. You were to pull the back off, and then you could use it as a coaster. It was by Russ from the 1970s, who did all those little. They do all those little figurines.
Yeah,
RUSS. Okay. And you see them, the ones that are plaques, and you even have the ones that were from Tops with Jack Davis art on them. They were wacky plaque, and they might have been even called wacky plaques. But those I collect because those are non-sport cards. They're actually put out by Tops, and I've actually come across some that were actually sent, which is crazy. I'm like, who sends out a trading card?
Yeah.
But do the odd, the round ones and the plaqued ones and all that? Is there value? People collect those, or are those oddities?
They're called novelty cards, and it's a whole group. That could be, leather or wood or round. They have ones that have they're actually records. It's a postcard, but they have it printed on there that you can put it on your record player and play a record, either a song or an ad. And yet there are collectors out there. Again, if it's hard to scan, I don't like it. Here I just have because you'll find ones with like applique, like that's a big metal horseshoe.
Okay.
So I had to take a picture of that. This is one of my favorites, and I don't know why it hasn't sold yet, but it has a crest and then a metal eagle on there. Here's one of those embroidery ones I was telling you about.
Okay,
something like that.
Yeah.
You get ones that pull out like this.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they're novelties. These have been sitting for a while. You just have to have the right person to come along for, like, here's a patch. Like, you could take that off back in the 70s when jean jackets were in patches were all the rage. Yeah. You could take this dog off and sew it on, have mom sew it on your jean jacket and look all cool. So yeah, novelties will sell. They're just, sometimes they can be a hard seller. So here's a souvenir folder, very generic. What is this one? This is the USS Zeppelin. So yeah, I pulled this out because it's very plain Jane, and I open it up and it's a World War I ship.
Right.
So just on that little tangent.
Now, what about the small ones? I mean, I've seen postcards that are, like about I'd say a third, maybe the size, tall wise of a regular size postcard.
They're about this big.
Yeah.
They're called bookmark postcards. Usually,
okay.
Usually from Italy. In fact, I have a stack upstairs. Will be coming to a future whatnot. So a lot of those, if they're from Italy, a lot of them can be hand colored.
Yes.
They're neat. I can't scan them, so I usually just lot them up, and they're I don't know, $5 to $10 maybe per. But if you're talking like really, really small ones, those usually came in a postcard pack, where you send the whole pack. It would be a place for the stamp, and it would only be about this big.
Right. Yeah.
Those have to be site specific. I can't scan them.
Right.
I hate taking pictures of them, so I throw them. I can see it right here. It's a little box that says small folders and small cards. That'll be going on to whatnot. Because there are people who collect those. I just don't want to deal with them.
Now, we were talking about Clapsaddle a lot. Are there other artists that did a lot of work that you should be looking for as well?
Yeah.
Clapsaddle at the top.
Clapsaddle. Well, she's very common. She had a lot of work. Her great work. There's a Frances Brundage, a lot of work.
Okay, yeah.
And there is Samuel Schmucker. His Halloween cards are like creme de la creme. I don't know if I have it over here. Hold on, let me see if I have it. There's fantasy. These are if you're just starting. If you're just starting out, there's a book. Mary Martin. This was just put out a couple years ago. If you're just starting out with the postcards, this is probably one of the best beginner books out there.
And if you read what American Vintage put up there, any Mary Martin author book is a valuable resource.
Yeah, and I'm going to be giving this away on
I'll take it.
My channel or on whatnot. Mary Martin actually sent this to me with a couple other books that I will be giving those away on my channel. Let me see, because there used to be, I don't have it anymore, or it's upstairs. But if you ever find these Mashburn books, like and if they're cheap enough, they're out of print, obviously, and the prices in here aren't accurate really anymore. But it still gives you an idea what could be valuable. Like here's a sports one, all sports related postcards. But I was looking for one that said artist signed, which there is one of these artist signed ones. Like that's how I learned. Those are probably the top 3 that I look for. Schmucker. Well, then again, there were some like Alphonse Mucha. Some of his cards can go he's Art Nouveau. Some of the Art Nouveau artists can just really sky's the limit with some of his stuff. There's the names are escaping me because I don't see them. The only time I ever see these cards are at postcard shows,
and they're priced accordingly.
They're priced and they're under glass.
Okay,
so it's those cards you will know. You look at it, it's like, oh, this is just a special card. You just tell by looking at it.
Well, and what you just said right there is a tip that I've always told people as well. I went to the Rochester book show. And one of the reasons why I went to the Rochester Book Show wasn't because I was expecting to buy any books. I went to the Rochester Book Show to see what dealers had under glass that was valuable, because you just might look and go, wait, I've seen a book like that before. And they're asking, $280 on it because I didn't know that. I'm going to keep my eyes open for that. And you've got all the reference books there. I use reference books as well. Just invaluable research, and research. because again, you absolutely never know when you might find something valuable, right. And you've seen it before and something just triggers you. Go, wait, I know that's good because, and even if you don't know it's good, if the price is right, you take the chance on it. You're like, wait a minute, that looks kind of like, hey, for $3, I'm going to take a chance on it. Why not? I'm out worst case, I'm not going to lose money.
Yeah. And you'll know the longer with postcards, the longer you look through them, it's like, oh, here's a linen. Oh, what's this one? This is weird. It's an old one. And, it has a clown on it or something like that. And it's really, really well done. It's just like, it looks different.
Right.
You don't see it all the time. So like I said, I'm still learning. And the reason I buy these books is I'll look through them and hopefully, I'll study them. And that's why I pick these up, because someday I will run into them. And again, this is from the 80s, I think, maybe 90s, 2001. Excuse me. I might see something in there and get, hopefully my pea brain somewhere back there is like, oh yeah, you've seen this somewhere before. And that goes the other way too. I might say, oh wow, I've seen this. And I come home and I already have 5 listed and none of them are selling, but I keep.
That's why I saw it. Local Joe has a question. A collection of postcards, over 200 Germany postcards pre-1900 with rulers, etc. Colorful. Are they valuable?
Yeah, they can be. I just recently sold some. Now, are they German rulers or are they rulers from other countries? Because if they're rulers from other countries, the rulers from like Siam and China and Japan from that time, they can sell fairly well. But usually the German ones are probably gorgeous cards if they're from that time period. Again, because I just can't say enough that German chromolithography is really, really nice.
Would you call the Hershey Park cards bookmark cards?
No, I call them Hershey bar cards or chocolate bar cards because they're a little shorter.
Oh yeah, okay, I've had those. Yeah,
those were put in chocolate bars.
Oh, they were.
That's my understanding. At least that's what someone told me, and I've always passed it on, and now it's gospel. But yeah, my understanding is that they're called chocolate bar cards because they were in.
See, now I hate you because now I have to save them, because even though I don't collect postcards, I would collect something like that came in a product.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you remember how Wonder Bread used to have the little things in the Wonder Bread, like the little Snoopy and all that?
I know what you mean. We didn't have Wonder Bread where I grew up, or at least my mom never bought Wonder Bread. We always had homemade, or the quarter loaf or something like that.
But I would save those because they came that way. The premium, yeah, I would call them a premium. At least that's what we would call them. So they were a premium when you purchased it. So now I do have a couple of those off to the side. I guess I'll save them.
Yeah, for value, there's 2 or 3. There's a whole set of those. I don't know how many are in the set. Most are $5 cards, but there are a couple that can go for 20 plus. And I think one of them is, I think they got maybe where they got their sugar from, maybe Cuba or something like that. But most of them aren't all that.
Well, again, it would just go in my collection. So Have you seen a much larger increased interest in U.S. continental non-topical postcards the last couple of years?
So non-topical states and cities and view cards. It depends. I've seen I think it was Sun Valley, Idaho. Someone sold it was a night view of the ski slope that went for, 50 to 75 or something like that dollar. I've sold, topical though. I do best with topical continentals, amusement parks, pretty beach girls, stuff like that. Garfield. I have a whole bunch of Garfield cards. So it's topical. They're coming into their own because the continentals were mostly from 70s and 80s, and that was 40, 50 years ago. So I don't sell a lot of them. I'll just pull out ones that I just said, amusement parks and stuff like that.
How about hotel interior?
Yeah, some room interiors can do well, especially if they Well isn't okay. I'm thinking, a $10 card or
Yeah.
so. If you get the bath, if they show the toilet,
Really?
back in the excuse me, like either remember the Archie Bunker where they hearing the toilet flush on TV. It was like,
Yeah.
well, it's the same thing. You didn't really show, but there are humor ones showing the toilet. But for like the hotel rooms, if they
Right.
show like personal clean bathroom, yeah, that can add some value.
Wow.
Lobby cards, a view of the lobby, the restaurant. Again, it can depend on where it is and how well the postcard itself is done.
Wow. How about maximum postcards?
So yeah,
Why don't you explain what they are real quick?
Well, maximum postcard, it is the scene on the postcard has a stamp that matches the scene, and the cancel has to be like from the location. Yeah, I mean that's more of a postal person, a philatelic. I think they like those the most. I've sold. I think I had my best one again was probably $100 card. It was I think it was Iran. This is back when we could sell Iran or Iraq. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like it was a scene probably from the teens of some Middle Eastern country, and it was like, I don't know if it was the king, and like the stamp was the king, and there was a cancel on it, and I can't remember. It was like $100 card or something like that. I don't see those often. I think that's more of like a made to be collected type
Right.
of thing. I think maybe the accidental ones would probably be more where the value is. But again, I don't see them often. I don't sell them often. And there may be I may be missing out on that. I just don't deal with them often because I don't see them often.
How much value is there in towns that aren't around anymore?
There can be yeah. I just did a members video on this too.
I swear we did not set these questions up beforehand, but do subscribe to his membership.
Yeah, I mean there are towns that no longer exist because maybe a dam was built and it's flooded.
Oh,
or a town was abandoned because I don't know, maybe it was just burnt down and never rebuilt, or it's been incorporated into a larger city. It's eventually encroached. It used to be little BFE California, but 100 years ago, and then Los Angeles, it's now office buildings or something like that. So
Brooklyn, the fourth largest city in. Remember the Welcome Back Kotter when they had the Brooklyn sign right there?
Yeah. So there's I don't think I have any down here. Again, it's more. Yeah, here it is. Nope, that's postal marks on. There's a set of books by Richard Hellbach, and it's I think there's 10 books or so, and it's like every part of the United States, like Mid-Atlantic, Southeastern, and it's all the post offices that have ever existed.
Oh,
and there's a valuation guide. Like this post office was from it was only in existence from 1901 to 1902.
Right.
And that may be worth more money, but it falls into, again, research. If you research, I get this town, I look it up, and it's like, wow, this town doesn't exist anymore. Oh, it was because the Great Cooley Dam was built and they flooded it out. Again, I have a members video on that just within the last week or two.
Do you have a pen ready?
Okay.
Value in slogans, postmarks, messages, addressee, DPO.
I only got 2 of those.
Okay, slogans.
Okay.
Postmarks.
Yep.
Messages.
Yep.
The addressee.
Yep.
And the DPO.
DPO, discontinued post office. I call them DPO. What's your question about?
Destination post office actually is what my research showed it. The destination post office.
Oh,
sometimes they have the extra stamp on there for when it got there.
Oh, well, see, DPO to me is discontinued or a dead post office.
See, and I came about that coming from I was reading some books on covers, and they were saying destination post office. Sometimes there's the extra stamp on there when it got to the post office. And I think it kind of ties into the same thing. If the post office isn't around anymore, then there's going to be value because, it made it to that post office.
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't know if there's another one. This is Richard Helbach too. But this would be a good book. I mean, if you're interested in the back of the card, postmarks on postcards, slogan would be in the cancel. Let me see if there's any slogans. It must be in his other book. But it could be like, only you can prevent forest fires.
Right.
Slogans.
Or sometimes you see them for I've seen them for the World's Fair or an exhibition, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know when. Hold on. There's another book on that. I don't know where it is right now, but I buy them and look through them. There are ones that they can add value.
Okay.
They can, but then I think if you list those specifically only in the postcard category, you may be missing out on the back of the postcard, the postal history people who really want to look at that. So you might have to do the double category, but then you got to figure out, is it really worth it? And sometimes it may not be. So you just got to do more research, and you might want to find there's postmarks on postcards, and there's another one with slogans and cancels. Same guy, Richard Helbach, Helbock.
Well, the reason I ask is because I've heard a lot of people who deal in postcards say, there's really not any value on the back. There's not. But my question is it because, and I think you kind of answered that, is it because they're not marketing it right? In other words, there's not a lot of value because if I'm listening in postcards to a postcard audience, they don't value it. Whereas if I were a stamp collector, back of the post, whatever collector, and I walked there, I might be, wow, that's a really rare slogan. That's that. Well, you have it priced at $1 because the scene on the front's worth $1.
Right.
Whereas I find something on the back, wow, that's worth $75, but you would never get $75 for it on eBay, probably because you have it listed in a postcard and it's a common view.
And that's the back of just like the postal card people, the back of the card people, their stuff, they have it to like where, like this cancel was only used for 2 hours on a Friday in May of 1910, and they know this stuff, and it doesn't mean I don't know it. And
well,
so
I'll tell you what threw me off, and we're going back 15 years, maybe 20 years on eBay. I saw somebody had sold a postal meter strip and it went for a couple of $100 because of the postal meter strip. And again, they knew absolutely that. They knew that it was from this one machine that had been out it was a very short time it was in service. It was a very rare, blah, blah. And I'm going, and they got a couple $100 for a postal meter strip. And I'm going, wow. But they know that stuff, and when you really get into the stamp world, which I'm not in at all, but that came from a coil. That's got the 8 perf. So that's got, and you're going, whoa. That's a lot there.
You can dive down that rabbit hole. I would suggest picking up like a Scott's stamp book, but from 15, 20 years ago, because like the current Scott's books are like $600 for like a set of 5 or so, but it's all over the world. I would just concentrate on get the one for the United States if you're even that interested in stamps. I have one just because. But you had mentioned, the postmark. Yeah, when I turn it over, if the round circle is bigger than most of them, to me that means that it was a hand cancel, and probably from a smaller town. So I just glance at those. Is it clear? It has to be really clear. With the message, sometimes I don't read truth. I just handle so many cards. I can't read every back.
Right.
But if I scan the back, and I see this sometimes on like real photos of people, of like a baby. It's like, baby Jane, born, whatever, died 5 months later. I've seen that. I've seen, the one of the ones I always talk about is the front was like a house in winter, and it had Christmas lights on, and on the back it said, this is some old folks home somewhere, a retirement home. The message was one of the most sad, morbid things. It's like, my family sent me here to die. I just want to die. We just went in about how bad this place was. So I put, I don't know, somewhere in Iowa, the town.
I can't believe Grandma sent
that. Nursing home. I thought we took her stamps away. And I put morbid message, or like on the real photo, I put child death or morbid message. Yeah. And I think some people will look for that type of stuff, but I just handle so much. I list so much. Yeah. I can't read. And most of it is like having a swell time at the beach.
Right.
We ate here. We stayed here. We're going to go see grandma next week. Yeah, it's just, bleh,
what about the addressee?
I just did a members video on this
we didn't set this
Wednesday because there were some, and it's just mostly because of the way it's addressed meant where it was sent, and it's kind of an interesting topic, but it's just something I never really thought to look at. But if you see it, you're like, oh, this is the reason why it's addressed this way. But I have run across there's no value, but it's like people send in to like guess the Price is Right game or something like that. I don't think there's much value, but. And then again, you always see these ones like this was sent to so and so by so and so and someone famous. I don't know enough from I don't know who it really is. And you know what? If I can get my $5 out of it, I'm happy with my $5. Let someone sell it for $500. Good for them. I'm glad they found it.
We only have a couple of more here, and you've been very, very good.
Easy. No.
How did, and this is going to go a little bit outside of the selling part, but how did Embossed, how did that work? How did they do that? Do you know how they did that?
It's probably just a press.
A press, okay.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Because really a postcard is usually like 3 layers, and they sandwich them together. Because if you ever get an old postcard that's gotten damp, it delaminates. And there's the back, which was printed with the address in the stamp box, and there's like a middle that might be like the stiffener maybe, and then the image one, and they sandwich it together with some whatever glue, and it makes it stiff. But you get it wet, and it'll fall apart. But with Embossed, it has to be some type of press that just presses it down. How, I don't know. I've never really researched in it.
Now those tend to have a little more value just because they would have been done, more care would have been put into them.
Yeah, it's more interesting than a flat slick surface. They had to put an extra step into it. And they're not going to emboss like a crap card. They're usually the embossed ones are going to be your nicer holiday ones. So yeah, those can add. They look nicer. And if I have room in the title, I will put Embossed. If I've already hit all the keywords and I still have 10 left, yeah, I'm going to put Embossed.
And hand colored, same type deal. They, like you were talking about the Chinese ones, they just had a factory of some kind. And any idea, did I color the whole thing, or did I just color the red and pass it to you who colored the blue?
That's my guess. I've not done research, but that makes the most sense. If you want to get them out quick, you don't want someone switching from blue and, oh crap, I was supposed to put blue in the clouds. Instead I messed up because I'm doing the roof brown, pass it on brown, that just makes sense to me. Again, I'm not researched it.
Right.
So.
And those tend to have a little more value as well, just because of the extra work put into it.
I think the extra work, and there's just something about a hand colored. To me, I really like the hand colored, hand tinted cards. They look cool. And then you get into like the hand colored or hand tinted real photos that it's only like 3 or 4 colors, but they do it so minutely that it all kind of blends together, almost like pointillism or dottilism with that. It just looks great, but when you get it under, your magnifying glass, it's just they colored each little window, yellow or something like that.
Yeah.
So they put a lot of work into those.
Now, what are hold the light cards?
Hold the light is, I don't have any right here. Pretty much what they do is there's a couple different ways to do it. We'll just use that, my example of 3 layers. Yeah. Well, that middle layer may have different colors on it. Usually it's like, yellow. Ones I've seen are like yellow, red, and blue. And then whatever scene, it's usually like windows of a building, stars, the moon. That top layer that would be like embossed, they actually cut out little sections of that top layer of card. And when it's sandwiched together, that cutout shows like yellow. The windows would be yellow, and when you look at it, it's like, oh well, the windows look a little weird. And then you look at it a little closer, and you can see it's actually cut out. And then you hold it up to the light, and the light shining through just makes that yellow of the windows light up. The yellow of the moon, just the light is shining through it. And there's also ones that are pretty much, there are no cutouts, but in that middle layer is another image. And on I have a members video on this too. On the front is like a clear white area. It's flat, but there's just an empty space. And when you hold that up to light, that middle image is shining through. Kind of like a dollar bill, kind of like how they or a $20 bill, hold it up, and there's that.
Wow, look at you bragging! You got $20 to your name.
I have nothing right now.
So what if I saw hold the light out there in the back of my head? What will the worst leaving condition issues out of it? Of course, decent condition. What will the worst hold the light go for? $20, $10,
5 to 10.
Really?
They made them into. I see them like 18 or bicentennial, 1976.
Really?
$5 to $10 for.
Wow.
There were like very common ones. Usually Christmas. It seems like. There hold the light for the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. Those have come down in value. They're $5 to $10, $15.
Really?
The best ones are going to be, hold the light patriotic Santa, which another YouTuber didn't know what he had, found it in an album, and it sold for I think $1,800 or $1,900. That's like the holy grail of hold the lights. But there are I find like the St. Louis post office, it always comes up, or City Hall. So there are common ones out there that maybe only $5 or so.
Oh, you got to go?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. A couple more questions here. One of the subscribers asked, you go to my table, and I've got a box like you got right over there. What are you looking for when you're going through my dollar postcards?
$5 postcards?
No, my dollar postcards.
Oh, dollar postcards.
My dollar common stuff. What do you like? I mean, I know you go through it fast, so you miss stuff, obviously, but what are you looking for on a quick run?
Pretty much my bolo list. Something weird, real photos. Because I see that a lot. It'd be a real photo of a location, and truthfully, a lot of people selling cards at a show. They're old, and their eyes may not be good, and they don't use the internet, so they don't know how to do Google Lens, and they don't do a lot of research, and they just I don't know what it is. I'm not going to spend the time, throw it in a dollar box. So if I come across a real photo of like a town, I may pull that out, because when I get home, I might be able to scan it and run it through Google Lens and find it immediately.
Oh, really?
Or wow. I look at it under a magnify. I once found a street just based on one of the windows had a dentist office and maybe a lawyer. So I just, was able to search for that dentist. Back in like 1915, I found that there was a dentist in this town. I went to Google Maps and went, and boom, there's that building. So I look for that type of stuff. Weird sells. If it just looks weird, it can sell. So I have a built-in bolo list,
right?
And I just can, you'll know. I mean, you're going through a stack of cards, and you pretty much know that, this is a cactus in the desert, this is a flower. You can go pretty quick through that.
Now, can you have a price point on postcards for selling? And I guess you kind of do over with the way you do eBay. My price point for items over on eBay is $20. How many postcards would I be listing? I go to a show. I go to Allentown. How many $20 or higher postcards am I going to get out of a $1 box without spending all day there? Am I going to get 10? Am I going to get 50? Am I going to get 100?
You may not get any. That's the thing about postcards. And that's like one of the downsides to a postcard. Like, if I'm selling shoes or I'm selling some other type of hard good go to a flea market or yard sale, boom, immediately that's that. But if you see a box of postcards, there's 700 postcards in there, and I gotta go through each one, because there could be that, $100 postcard hiding in there. And it takes 15 minutes to go through a box.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah.
It's just to know, and if I'm going to pass something, or it's like,
you could spend all day at Allentown.
Yeah. But then again, if it's a buck, buy it.
Right.
At the worst, it's only a $5 or $6 postcard. You tripled, quadrupled your money. It's almost kind of hard to lose money flipping postcards that you bought, that you cherry picked.
Right.
They may not sell immediately, but it'll sell eventually. So, and that's why you see, 30,000 over here. Some of these are 10 years old. But they take up no space, and someone eventually may buy it, or it'll be set on fire in the backyard when I die. I don't know.
Eric's asking, how much fun do you have buying and selling postcards?
Yeah. It beats a day job. It really does. Truthfully, if I'm not listing, sending offers and packing may only be a half hour to an hour out of my day. But if I'm listing, that could be a 12 to 14 hour marathon. But again, I'd much rather list for 10 hours at my desk in my underwear than go to a regular job that I have to drive to.
Another question from a subscriber. You may have some trouble seeing this because I printed this out, but if you take a look here, it's the card, and it's got the blank white space there on the side. I'm sure you've seen cards like that before.
Yeah, probably a undivided back, probably an undivided back.
Yeah, it looks like that on the back but they said it's got the penny on the back, the penny postcard thing in the back.
Yeah, up in the stamp box.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they said that it would be from 1928 to 1952 with the penny in the stamp box. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Not on that front. Now, is it? I can't see the stamp box very well. Does it say like
it says
half penny to Mexico, or
1 cent for United States and island possessions, Cuba, Canada, and Mexico, 2 cents.
Yeah,
foreign.
that's not from the 20s to 50s. That's an undivided back. So 19.
Well, actually, this one is divided. Believe it or not, the back is divided, and it says that.
Okay, then divided. There's a line down through it.
Yeah.
So it's divided back era, 1907-ish to 1918, 1919.
And what would you call a postcard like that that's got the white? I guess it's for, I mean, a lot of times you see the message written over in the white on the side as well.
Yeah.
Is there a special name for that or no?
No, it almost seems that maybe they had that, maybe the front.
Oh, leftover type deal?
Yeah. They just they just printed the back. They kept the front and just printed the back to reflect that it's now. That's probably maybe that could be like 1906, 1907, because they did switch over to divided back in around 1907.
Okay, right. How many cards do you list in a day?
Not enough. The most I've done in a day was 500. Wow. And that's with research, and that was like a good 14 to 16 hour day. I hit it hard. But I can list 100 cards if I don't get sucked in a rabbit hole of research, or I can't have TV on. I have to have maybe music playing. You know what? 40 cards an hour is not unrealistic.
That's funny because I picked up a lot of car magazines, and we always talk about car magazines again being the same.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting 40 car magazines listed by literally just doing the cover and doing a quick list. And you know, I have the CZUR Scanner. You know, and again, I could get 40 of those done in an hour. So yeah, 40 seems to be the sweet spot for
or more. I mean, you have to prep to get there. So I've been starting to go through my sorting area that's been here for 6 years or so. And I have, 200 like Tennessee cards. And so they're all sorted. So when I'm listing I use 6-bit, I only have to change the title and the pictures and the price if I want to change the price. Yeah. I don't really use item specifics. I'll go and change to like Tennessee in my store category, and then item specifics, I'll put like Tennessee, United States, and like cities and views, cities and towns.
Yes,
that's all I need.
Right.
And so if you're doing just that, it might only, and with research, it might only be 50 seconds. So you just got to concentrate.
Posted, unposted. Anybody care?
Both people collect both. It doesn't. You got the purists that want a clean copy, pretty card, but then you got other people who like the cancel because that's kind of a way of validating that it's a 100-year-old card because you have a 100-year-old cancel on it.
Well, and we were talking before about how every collectible has its own. I did go to a flea market, and a guy that I know was there, and he was selling sports cards, and he wrote the price in pencil on the back. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, you do it with postcards." I go, "You do not." I go, "You just took the value down like you wouldn't believe, because you can have no stray writing on a sports card.
You can leave it on a postcard."
In the postcard world, I go, "You're not selling postcards. You're selling sports cards. You do not do that."
And I don't erase the price anymore. There were times I would erase whoever, the dollar or where, but who knows how long ago it was a $1 card or 10 cents. I just leave it. The one that makes me upset is when you see them at the antique mall and they actually put the sticker on the postcard itself. Like that. And don't use rubber bands. Jeez, don't use rubber bands.
Well, that's the same with the sports card world. That's why the theory is that's why card number one from a lot of sets is worth more, because it would have the rubber band across. It's harder to find.
The rubber band breaks down and gets goo all over. And paper clips. I've seen paper clips. The paper clips get musty or damp and they rust onto the card. Yeah.
Or leave the imprint.
Yeah.
A couple of more and we're all done. Flipperoo asked this. I guess she found these over in the item specifics. If you could give a quick what these are. An Aurora card.
That's
okay.
I know.
We didn't stop you.
I mean, I know. Well, I know.
We didn't stop you.
Well, are we talking Aurora as in?
These were item specifics. I think she found like types of postcards on eBay, I believe.
I mean, there could be. I know there are some British terms for because I know there were some certain sizes. So, but no, I don't. It's not something that I have come across.
Use. You probably have had it, but not know the name. Yep. And another one was Leporello.
Yeah, that I don't know that one either.
Which that one I actually did a search on. That's almost like the accordion kind of cards. It's got views inside. It's another name for those where you can pull it open and it's got views, the accordion out.
Well, that I just call those folders. So if I would never, I don't think I would ever put Leporello or whatever that.
Yeah, Leporello. Yeah, isn't he one of the
mini
Ninja Turtles?
No, Leonardo. No, I would just call it like a mini folder. Yeah. So okay. See, I'm always learning. Not that I'll ever
under
use
type. Yeah, and Nanette said it was listed under type. Huh. And we have two more. Edgar and Free card.
No, Edgar and Free, unless that's a publisher or a specific maker, could be English card, British cards. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that one up.
And then the last one was Field Postcard, and these are all listed under type of postcard.
Well, there's well, that could be military field post. It could be, yeah. I mean, if this is what that is, but field post could be military. It's a military field post office.
Okay.
So the soldiers would just go, fill out their postcard. Maybe it went to the censor, and the censor would take it to the tent where it's the mail car. It's the field post office. German, it's Feld, F-E-L-D post. And I've seen field post. So that could be it.
Right.
But the Laurel one,
you win a Laurel and hearty handshake.
Yeah.
One last question, and you've been very, very kind with your time here. How about, I've seen the postcards that have been mailed, and they'll have the thing on there of the ship, mailed at sea. It's got the mailed at sea postmark. That any extra value in those?
Well, there can be. There's was it Paraboat, I think, is the French or German. It's pretty much mailed from sea. Military, the USS. I do look for that if it's USS, say Virginia, maybe 1908, whenever the Great White Fleet was, that can add value. I've had a card from the USS Indianapolis mailed. It was a postcard of the USS Indianapolis, postmarked from the USS Indianapolis, and it was like a year before it was torpedoed and sunk, and all the sharks ate the sailors, and that went fairly well. Right. So yeah, you just have to do some research.
Oh, See the Light asks, is a free card a rat card, which I don't know what.
Yeah, usually free advertising. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I got a whole bunch of them. Yeah, they're pretty much advertising. Somewhere in here. Oh yeah, right here. Boom. That's a rack card, pretty much. This is Pokemon, and I don't do a whole bunch. Usually the advertising is kind of cool. So this is Pokemon back when the original Pokemon came out. This is for breakfast cereal and Pop-Tarts. So yeah, that was probably given away. Were those things like they'll hand out on the streets in New York City and stuff like that? Exactly. And you'll see them. I think it's one of the vodkas. I can't remember which vodka. Probably. I think they did those too. Yeah, those I've seen, like Chanel perfume. So they give out the rack card on the back is a perfume sample. And the ones I had, it was a set that Andy Warhol had some design with it. So yeah, what did those go for? Because you figure again, that was I think I got $50 for the set, maybe 60, something like that. Wow. But yeah, now that you think about it, that's 30, 40 years now, probably. Yeah. From late 90s. Yeah, 30 years ago. Some of this, I mean, it's that technology, the internet was just coming around. Right. Cell phones were just, really just coming around. So you have those advertising for 20, 30-year-old technology that doesn't exist anymore. Right. And sometimes there's actors on it.
Yeah.
You know, Jordache jeans, and so yeah, some of them, you're not going to set the world on fire with them, but there's some value.
Wow. Have you ever seen a Mail by Mule or Phantom Ranch postcard?
Mail by Mule or Phantom? No, I can't say that
we're losing me at this point.
Unless you get like it's Adam and he's out like the Grand Canyon or something like that now. So I can see, there's probably location specific, like, okay, I went to the bottom of the Grand Canyon on a mule. Here's, for $1, buy this postcard. We'll stamp it that you were here. Yeah, see, there's a lot in like Japan, like item specific or location specific. Pikes Peak's a big one. You mailed a postcard from the top of Pikes Peak.
Okay,
so if that's what he's talking about. It's probably mostly.
Oh, okay. It's for the tourist.
Yeah, it's a touristy made to. Hey, I mailed a postcard from here, type of thing. I don't think it adds a whole bunch. It might be, if it's like a real photo from the 40s or 30s and, something like that, it might add some value. But
Postal Forward sold the Chanel one last week for 12 to 14 for one card. So, yeah. Yep. Have an Andy Warhol pullout postcard for book and for sale. There you are. Now everybody here's shilling. Hey, it's just supposed to be the two of us shilling here. I don't know what's going on here. It is a post office at the bottom of the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, everybody. We had a great time tonight. I do want to thank our guests. Why don't you give one last plug for your channel over there? The link is over there for everybody. Tell us why we should subscribe, other than the fact that every single question I asked you have a video about.
Popeye's postcards. Yeah, pretty much like what we talked about. I go into deep dives on my members.
And next week will be a Leporello postcard video.
Actually, next week is going to be another back of the card item, and it's something that can again sell for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if you get the right one. And I come across them all the time, but you just got to get the right one. But also October 17th, Matthew Kirsch, the interview. I've been years I've been trying to get Matthew Kirsch interviewed, and we're going to do an interview with him. Great artist. Talk about his art there. I'll have a giveaway of one of his postcards, and I have probably a giveaway a book. So Thursday, October 17th at 8 should be a great interview.
Awesome. Yep. And then again, $4.99, the second best value on the internet.
Yeah, and cancel. Watch it. I think you probably get through all the videos in a couple of days and then cancel. And
would you like to take a guess what the best value on the internet is?
Oh, probably your $6.99 a month. Is that what it is?
There you go. It's amazing. Yeah. All right. Definitely thank you for your time. If you ever decide that you want to bore people with a deep dive into magazines or anything at all like that, you can definitely, have us on, no doubt. And why don't you plug your whatnot? You still doing that?
I need to do it. Yeah, I'm actually, what's my next show? I'm doing a actual garage sale from my garage on Tuesday the 1st. I was going to have a show this weekend, but something got switched, so I'm not going to Allentown. So I'm going to do a show from here on Allentown weekend. But on Tuesday, I'm actually going to sell from my garage. I have boxes and boxes of stuff, paper, because I always buy ephemera and I don't sell it.
So why don't you bring it to Allentown? You can sell it to me.
I'm going to sell it to whatnot because I hate packing it. I should.
I'm almost out of stuff.
Yeah, me too. Awesome. Well, thank you, Dave, for having me.
All right, everybody. Thank you much. Hit the like button and do follow the link over to Popeyes and do subscribe. He's going to make you $1,000 if you find the right thing in the back next week. So you can get together $4.99 between now and then. And after you make the $1,000, you can spend $6.99 or at the $1 Million Peddlers and become a member over here. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks, everybody. Fun show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.